Invincible has managed to grab the minds of people across the spectrum of entertainment. The boys preceded it with a focus on social commentary and deep characters, while this show focuses on being a parody or spoof of the superhero genre, with an even greater focus on gruesomeness. But honestly, this show wasn't put on everyone's radar because its writing is leagues above everything else, or because any of the ideas were revolutionary. No, this show was put on the map because of its violence, gore, characters, and overall mature tone. And not just mature, but a dark vision of a superhero story. There are school scenes, moments where Mark is learning to use his powers, fun side characters, but this story lives and breathes with its horror-esque scenes of destruction. Omni-Man was sent to Earth prepared for takeover by the rest of his race, the Viltrumites. Over time, it's clear that his experience on Earth had begun to soften him up, at least in some ways, but it was nowhere near enough to change his mission and brutality. When he spills the guts of the Guardians of the Globe, it's enough to make your skin crawl, at the very least to make you feel uncomfortable. Even stories like The Boys or anything else that commits to this level of grossness doesn't manage to create this strong of a reaction. The first episode takes its time making sure you understand each person that will be ripped apart. You know their names, what kinds of people they are, their abilities, and it's made sure you have no reason to believe they should die. Immediately setting the stage and putting the viewer on one clear side of the conflict. Every single kill is unique in their execution. With each one, it makes you feel more unnerved. If horror has taught me anything, it's that doing too much gives less of an impact. Some of the most successful horror movies and scenes of all time are the ones that have lower budgets and don't try some off-the-wall crazy idea to frighten you. It's the slow burns, when you know exactly what's coming but you're forced to watch. In the case of Invincible, it's how the animation is done. The one part that makes Invincible so much more unnerving, even beyond the level of gore and brutality, is how it looks. The lower budget this show had actually ended up creating one of its greatest strengths. The scene where Red Rush had his head crushed was one of the scenes that benefited from this. Instead of everything being smooth, fluidly animated, it was rougher, adding to the grossness of the gore. When you watch something, it's nicer and more satisfying when it's done smoothly and clean. For example, the appeal of ASMR and oddly satisfying type content. It has that clean quality to it, like a knife cutting through a cake. But the lower budget doesn't make the show bad by any means. The choreography in particular was cool and clever. Because of how little restraint they had with how brutal everything could be, it opened a lot of opportunities for unique kills. On top of all that, the lack of music and especially the detail created some pretty haunting imagery. Red Rush's death was shown the full way through. Every contortion of his face, every vein, his eye being shown popping out, even his hands being thrown into Omni-Man so many times he breaks them, all of this being put front and center. There were many graphic and powerful scenes in this show, but the first episode had a unique ability to flip the script. Sure, the blood and bits of gore existed before this ending fight scene, but it was nowhere near this level. The contrast between Mark learning about his powers and Omni-Man butchering a group that we've been getting to know the full episode is jarring. It makes the audience more susceptible to the dread that future episodes had a harder time capturing, though that by no means is to say they failed, with the final confrontation in the last episode being just as powerful as the first episode. I also have to praise the fighting in general. Even without the gore, pretty much every character was fighting uniquely and they weren't one-tricks. The last two episodes of the show were really the moments that helped cement Omni-Man as a character, even beyond him beating the hell out of Mark. The scene where he thunderclaps towards the seal and the ground gets ruptured was super dope, or the visual spectacle of the hammer weapon, with the graphic novel type style to it, the rough yet times fluid look, the detailed and excessive use of specifically gore rather than just blood, and then the voice acting brings it all together. J.K. Simmons and Stephen Yeun killed their roles in the final two episodes. Bringing such an all-star cast really gives this all-star quality to the voice acting. When Omni-Man grabbed Mark and told him he'd burn the entire planet down, I got chills. Or the climax, where Omni-Man can't bring himself to finish off his son, even with all the destruction he was willing to do before. This character has such a unique way of unnerving the audience that evil Superman characters on the screen in the past haven't been able to achieve. The Boys' Homelander may be a more developed character and in his own right scary, but when it comes to gore and pure all-out violence, Omni-Man seems to stand alone. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.